What's good? This is DJ Sun. We're with FraudTax. We got Dom and Brent over here. Thank you all for having me.
Of course,
Happy
bro.
to be here.
It's about time we talk to you. Some legit artists, some legit music, legit DJs. You know, Dom turned me on to you, and I don't know, I fuck with it.
Yeah, man, good looks for coming through. Super excited. You just had another show on Tuesday at Kung Fu Necktie. That shit was dope. You had your homies from Baltimore all through, which definitely brought like a different vibe. It was funny as fuck. Your one homie had like the 100 fucking backwoods in his hand.
Yeah.
100 backwards?
Like, yeah, mad backwoods. Like, it was just like walking around Kung Fu Necktie.
Yeah.
And, like, he was talking on the
That's
phone.
like he was talking on the phone.
Like, standing on the fucking...
Shout out
the
Young
amp.
Outlandish.
That shit was dope. But, yeah, good looks for coming through. Super excited to just, like, talk to you, see what you got planned for this year. Just talk about yourself also. Where are you from?
From Baltimore.
Where? How long you been in Philly for?
You moved?
Been here for like going on 4 years. So I moved here for college.
Where you going?
University of the Arts.
Okay, cool.
So college wasn't really something I was really looking to do. But my brother didn't go to college, so my mom was like really bent on me going to college. So I was like, all right, bet. So I kind of picked the school based on Philly just because I knew it was a good scene. No cap. Like, people ask why I ended up at UArts, and like really, like I didn't really know much about the school. I just knew something about Philly. You know what I mean? So.
What did you do at UArts? Like, what was your focus?
What is?
Do music business and mixing. So like engineering and music business.
This was up.
Just like talk about that difference in like the music scene that kind of attracted you to Philly. It doesn't sound like you think it's better than one place, which you thought it was more preferable, at least for your spot right now. Or
Yeah. So like I knew I wanted to like traveling is one of my biggest motives. Period. I love to go places and meet people. You know what I mean, and connect over some relevant and in tune energy and shit. You know what I mean. And Baltimore has a lot of really cool people, but it's small, obviously, and it's not, there's so much out there. So I knew I wanted to go somewhere bigger than Baltimore. And I don't know, as a turntablist and like a DJ that spins a lot of hip hop and like studies a lot of the old school history and stuff, Philly's important in all of that.
Yeah.
So
Definitely has a lot of history.
Yeah.
that's interesting that like you kind of, especially when you're talking about like old school hip hop, a lot of people typically go and say like I'm gonna go to New York, but like
Turn this down.
you decided Philly. Now I want to like see, are there any people that like might have influenced you and like what you're at, your sound at least, from Philly, or just talk about your influences in general, I guess.
Yeah, so it's actually, it's kind of personal. There's not like a lot of like legends I can shout out, but in my own experience, my whole family is from New York.
Yeah.
So I had already spent, my mom's from Manhattan and my dad's from the Bronx.
Okay.
So I had already spent a lot of time in New York and I'm constantly there. So I'm not like the biggest fan of just like fucking around in New York. Like I like to go there when there's things to be done, but like, I don't know, I really got to get into my rhythm in New York. It's not some shit I can just go up for the day and like be comfy with, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? So I knew I wanted to check out some other spot, and I have my second cousin lives here, and he grew up here, and like my whole life he was like the older person in my family that would hit me up with like really good music. You know what I mean? Like I would be like, damn, how is this old head like so on it? And like literally last Thanksgiving he was like, yo Jason, what you think of Ski Mask? And that was the last artist I was expecting to come out of his mouth, but he's been on it, and like he grew up in Philly and just always, he used to teach art at the juvenile prison.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So he's just always been really, he's inspired me with just like how cool Philly is and like all the shit that's going on here. So I don't know, it seemed similar to Baltimore in a lot of ways, you know what I mean? And it wasn't too far. I don't know. There were honestly like, it was really just enough like good things about Philly that I was like, yeah, let's go to Philly. You know what I mean? It wasn't like something like I planned out. It was just once I looked at all the schools I got into, I was like, oh, Philly's on the menu. Like, bet we out. You know what I mean?
I feel you. And like, that's interesting. I had like a conversation with an artist who chose to do Philly over New York. And I was talking to them about that, and they were just talking about just like not just the price, but also just like how New York's just magnified, and how hard it is just to be able to like do your thing and actually have that aspect of failure, and being able to like actually learn from that. And it was a very interesting conversation that I didn't expect to have, at least where I was at, but I appreciated it.
Yeah. No, there's a lot to be said. Like, after being here for 4 years, I have so many theories on like what's possible in different size scenes. You got Baltimore that's just under 1 million people, Philly's just over 1 million people, and then New York obviously is just like, right, exactly. So like what's possible in those scenes based on the infrastructure that's already there, and the amount of scenes to pull from is really like what determines the potential. And it's crazy because like right now, I swear Baltimore is like 2 years behind where Philly was when I got here 4 years ago. So think about what's happened in Philly in the last 4 years. A lot of really, really, really cool shit. A lot of really organic shit has been going on. You know, shout out Tiara Whack.
Yeah.
Just like cap it. You know what I mean? Like there's so many really cool things. Armani White. There's like a lot of people that are like bubbling here. The attention's here.
With the Drake
Right.
beat
Yeah. Live Nation has their headquarters here, obviously. So like Philly. To sum it up, my thing about New York versus Philly is like New York is so corporatized that, and Baltimore on the polar opposite is like not corporatized at all. So in Baltimore, you kind of gotta tread water real fast to do anything. Where in New York, you can flick a wrist and get something moving. And I don't mean to like belittle. Like it's not. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying like.
But something can happen.
Yeah, but basically, like, when you go to an underground party in New York, like, everybody is on their shit, doing really cool stuff, da-da-da-da-da, but they're all talking about, like, oh, yeah, I did that Nike ad last week because they're in New York, and that's possible. Where Baltimore, none of that shit ever happens. And then in Philly, a really interesting thing happens where, like, the underground is kind of maintained. You feel me? It's not being underturned and overturned by the corporateism that's always trying to pull from the raw shit, you know what I mean? It's literally just maintained. So it's a really good spot to like try shit, you know what I mean? And just like start a party, see what happens, change it up. You know what I mean? People are very like down here. You feel me? Like New York's a little too high strung, like you throw your first party, it better be on point. You know what I mean? Philly is like, I don't know. It's just it's like there's elastic in there, you know what I mean?
Have you ever been to New Orleans?
Yeah,
it
actually.
kind of reminds me, like the scene at least kind of reminds me of their scene because I spent a year out there.
Definitely.
And like it's definitely comparable at least, especially with just like, you know, size. Well, sizes aren't that comparable, but like. Right,
but no, I feel you. I actually lived in New Orleans for a little while.
Okay.
My mom was working there, and I spent like my summers and my breaks there. So I never went to school down there, but I spent a considerable amount of time. And like, you're right, like. Man, you know what I'm talking about. New Orleans is like on some other shit as far as like it's like Atlanta as far as like they got everything they need in that one city. You know what I mean? They not
I've
worried
seen
about
salons
nobody
like
else.
DJing just like a low key type joint before, like in a warehouse. It's just like lit in that city, ridiculous.
Yeah.
But like you also, just to like segue I guess to something else, you show such like an interest in so many sides of the scene. You know, it seems like you're starting to get into curating or trying to curate some shows. You also just like are doing music marketing as you're working on, at least with school. So I just want to talk about the different projects that you're currently a part of and different things that you like that you're a part of.
So I think that like, you know, with other genres, like a lot of dance music and you know, there's the what a DJ has become like fragmented,
right?
And not for better or for worse. You know, a lot of old heads will be like, da, 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 da. Well, now you got DJs that are playing music that they produced, which is dope. You know what I mean? Right. If somebody's making music on a computer,
you don't think that's cheating though?
I mean, like if they don't, because the thing is, like you look at people like, you know, there's artists out here who do not know how to play a piano. But they're making great shit on a computer. So I would say, like, put a controller in front of them. They're not out here saying that they're the best scratch DJ.
Yeah.
They made that shit.
Yeah.
So, like, any way they can play it is dope to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, I think that, like, there's multifaceted, there's many types of DJs. You feel me?
When you go to a, like, I don't know, it's not even like a competitive thing, but, like, you want to listen to people, like, mix music that is, you know, and then there's, like,
it's different.
There's a boiler room set, and then you got the guy like augmenting the tracks.
Right.
It's like a little different. I mean, what do you think's more authentic, at least?
So that's what I was saying. Like, I think it's different. So me personally, like, I do produce, but that's something I do as like a meditation on the side. My roommate is what I would call a commercial producer, where I'm not a commercial producer. And what I mean is he can sit there and make, you know, a beat to like custom order. You know what I mean? Like, he can literally sit there and make. He makes 7 beats a day. Like, this man is just crazy. Like, that's what he does. He makes beats. He literally just sits there and makes beats, and he's got all these artists that swear he the GOAT, and he just sit in his room and he does that. And that's like, that's dope. But that's not what I'm trying to do. And if he was to do a set, like, he just happens to play keys. And I think if you do other stuff, you should be out there, like, playing keys, doing your thing. But if you don't, you know, I think it's cool to just DJ. But me personally, like, as a DJ, the other side of it, and I think that this comes a lot more from, like, the old school what a DJ is, it's like a public service, and like you're right between the creators and the listeners, and you kind of, because you have that stability and that leverage and that placement, I feel like it's an obligation to connect people, help where you can. You feel me? Like, if you walk into a room, like, and I kind of started introducing myself as a DJ before I knew that I was a DJ first and foremost, not a producer. Because at first, I didn't really know. I didn't know where I was going to take it. What I realized is that if you walked in a room and said, yo, I'm a producer, all the other producers look at you funny, and all the rappers want to be your friend. If you walk in and you say you're a rapper, all the producers want to be your friend, but all the rappers look at you funny. You say you're a DJ, everybody want to be your friend. You know what I mean? So on the flip, what you do with that, you know, that's not, you can't just stop there. You have to look at that and be like, okay, with that leverage, with that placement in the scene, what can I do? So, like, one thing from that scenario specifically that I took is, like, for some fucking reason, all these producers have a hard time selling beats, and all these rappers have a hard time buying beats. And, like, everybody needs it.
Or getting the right formatting.
Right, stuff, and just, like, the conversation's always awkward, whatever. So, what I started doing, and you know, I basically have this network of artists just through playing shows with people, opening for people, doing the marketing stuff that you mentioned, producing, my friends and who they work with. So, like, through that, and then I have all my producers, right? Then I have my network of all the producers I know. So I just reached out to them. I was like, yo, send me your beats. Like, send me the beats that have been sitting on your computer for a month that you haven't been able to sell. They sent me them, and I listened, and I was like, all right, this one's good for this person, this one's good for this, I basically told them, I was like, look, raise your price. I'm going to give the artist a 20% discount so they feel like they got a good deal, and they ultimately do. They raise their price so they still get the price they feel like they deserve. And the artist knows that they can come to me for beats that I think are specifically good for them. You feel me? It cuts out all the, like, yo, here's 10 beats, tell me which ones you like. Meanwhile, the producer never sent them because he doesn't actually trust the rapper to not steal that shit. You know what I mean? Like,
you don't ever end up just, like, buying the beats from the producers or whatever, and, like, and then starting your own thing where you...
Nah. And the reason is, like, on some college shit you're talking about, or, like...
Or just on some, like, entrepreneurship shit, like, where, like, I feel like a lot of people have a hard time realizing what they create and, like, the caliber of what they create. I always think that, like we were saying earlier, I think everybody needs a manager where, like, you know, like, you can manage these producers, or you can, like, start taking the content and, like, I don't know, selling it better if you had it in your position. And, like, whereas they get bread and they get, you know, a reason to keep producing, and you can, like, you know, curate your own type of whatever with your own type of network.
I feel you. Like, I think that would be a cool income, and I'm all for, like, diversifying incomes and, like, looking at all. But, like, right now, like, I'm just trying to connect dots. Like, back to the scene. Like, I feel like every time you say, somebody hits you up, they say, you got a photographer, I got the show next week, mine fell through. If you can say yes and give them a number of somebody who comes through and outperforms, you know what I mean, does better than the photographer they initially booked, that makes you look good in the long run and consistent and reliable. And, like, the fact is, like, I don't know, like, networking is easier for a DJ than other people in the scene because, you know, a good DJ brings speakers. They can help with so many aspects of the shit, you feel me? So, like, I think, like, forgot where I was going with that, but, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just think that you gotta, like, help where you can as a DJ, and you gotta, like, be observant, not just when you're on decks watching the crowd looking for what they want to hear. But when you go back home to the meetings and you listen to your artists talking about what they're looking for and what they're trying to do, because you know everybody. You got everybody's phone in your number if you're a DJ, like, you know. So that's also where the like curating shows comes in. Like I just started doing this, and I've been working with people like Truewave for a while to like kind of do stuff like that. But
Shout out Truewave.
Yeah, shout out Truewave. Hopefully we'll talk about them in a minute. But like, you know, I think it's important to like turn around with your resources and like just do shit for the culture. Just do shit whether you get paid or not. Just do shit if you have the capability just to do shit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Talk to us a little bit about Truewave. What is that? And like, what do you do with them?
Yeah, so Truewave is the first people that really like caught me in Philly and like introduced me to people. Yeah, that's good shit. Right. Shout out Lego.
Lincoln Bell with Lego.
That's so far.
Sponsors.
But basically, so what Truewave is they are a live streaming company. So they have a bunch of really, really dope equipment, and basically you can come in and take any event and broadcast that shit worldwide from like 5 camera angles, all edited in real time. You know what I mean? They set everything up on premises. So they work third party, and they work with a lot of other people in the city. Done some selection events, some BWC events, if you know about who they are.
Of course,
and but basically, when they found me, I was like DJing college. Like when I came to Philly, I was just like, I'm a DJ any and every party. I wasn't 21, so I was just like, let's see what happens. And I was like, the first couple months, I was just like DJing all these like college parties, and they found me because a couple of people affiliated with them also went to UArts, and they were just like, yo, you trying to come and like not be in a basement surrounded by like beer and piss? And I was like, yeah, like what's up? And from then on they did a party a week for 2 years. Wow. And basically I'm not fucking around, like they were consistent with that shit. And they their model was like, just internally, a lot of those guys had just been around the Philly scene long enough to have like some, you know, good connects with good people. You know what I mean? So basically, a lot of their bookings were just off the strength of their network. Yeah. They'd just reach out to people and be like, "Hey, you're sliding through for your tour date this week. You think you're trying to come through and do this little boiler room house party thing?" And their thing was they would have a keg and they would be grilling steak every time. Yeah. So like there were a couple bookings. Like we had G-Buck come through, and G-Buck is like a homie of some of the Truewave people. But he was like, he knew what was good. He knew what to ask for. But he was like, man, I'll come out. Y'all gonna have steak. You know what I mean? There were a couple bookings where we definitely like leveraged it with the steak. But yeah, man, they had a lot of really cool people. We had Armani White come out. We had Flaming Ghostus. We had J-Rob. We had a lot of really cool people, and basically a lot of their people have been like very busy in what they do. One of their key founders, Drew Mercadante, is one of the like most talented lighting designers in Philly, if not the East Coast corridor. I mean, this man is always traveling to do shows. He's done shows from Deadmau5 to The Who. Like, he's done everybody. So he was on tour for a little bit doing that shit. But, like, so basically in that time we were doing a lot of third-party stuff. We did the Sengo show at Underground Arts and stuff. But we have a lot of really exciting stuff coming up about as far as, like, our own events that are curated and stuff.
Anything you guys can spill on? You can spill on real quick?
Ooh. So Truewave is really, like, what we're really about is, like, we like to really dig deep for, like, artists that we like, and we're very big on promoting things that, you know, make us feel good, not, I don't know, you know, there's a lot of different reasons why you might want to be in a room, but our biggest reason is, like, come because you want to hear some music that you'll move to, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Right. So, we got a couple different venues that we're about to start working with that I'm very excited for. So Warehouse on Watts, which is a gorgeous spot. Shout out to them. They've done some really cool shit. And we have this gallery space that we're really excited about called Tiny Room for Elephants on the Cherry Street Pier.
I've heard that.
So we're going to do like a lot more like, just like artist meetups, like wine and art nights, and like just like community, like Sunday afternoon type shit. Yeah. Because, you know,
Truewave. Get into that shit. That's there's a special vibe that comes together.
Yeah, exactly.
Come together
and like
on a Sunday for art.
You're
definitely a person I want to be talking to.
Oh man, yeah. I appreciate that. Shout out while we're talking about that type of vibe, shout out my homie Brandon Woody, who I know we've talked about.
Really excited for that dude.
So he's a trumpet player down in Baltimore who has a group called Upendo, which is Love in Swahili. And he just does really cool shit. And, like, the thing about Baltimore is because there's not, like, a whole lot of people, if there's going to be a scene, everybody's going to support it. And not, like, inherently, but, like, if it works, that's what's going to have to happen. You feel me? In Philly, like, the jazz cats go to the jazz shows, the punk kids go to the punk shows, the hip-hop kids go to the hip-hop shows, the clothing people kind of go everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, and there's not a whole lot of overlap. Where in Baltimore,
It's everybody loves everything.
it's got to be that way. You know what I mean? So, like, I went to his jazz show at the spot, ND Music, which he has a residency at in Baltimore, and literally, it was an hour and a half of jazz music, right? Everybody in that room I had seen at the club.
Okay.
You feel me? So, like, just that, knowing, like, you know, like we were talking about, like, there's so much music now, Anderson .Paak, Smino, like, there's so much shit that, like, has a whole lot of jazz influence, right? And, like, people don't know it if they don't know it. If they know it, they know it. But, like, people want just, like, good jazz.
Just
like, that shit is, shit is
bro.
right. You know what I mean? Like, you got some local art on the walls. You got a DJ playing an hour of just, like, K-Tronada and Afrobeat and, like, the, like, funky shit. As people are coming in, spotlight some jazz music right quick. Like, that's good shit. You know what I mean?
That's
Get some snacks in there.
Exactly.
Like, it seems like you have, like, an understanding, at least, of, like, how to bring that intersect all those things together. And it kind of draws on a conversation that we had earlier about DJing as a public service. Or that's how you view it as being. Can you just, like...
Yeah, like... So, if you're at the club... It's taken to a whole nother degree. So I really enjoy playing at the club. Like, my favorite thing of all is playing music that my friends made. Like, that comes first for me. Like, being able to break records, test shit for homies. They're like, yo, this one's gonna make people move. I'm gonna be like, all right, we gonna see. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna, you know what I mean? Because that don't tell. That don't lie. You know what I mean? And just being able to, like I was saying, like, get on the radio and play shit on FM radio that's never been played on FM radio. That was made in that city.
Right.
Like, come on, man. That's like, so on that side of things, forget the club for a second. I'll get back to that. I have to come back because I'm trying to go in order. But, like, so when you're playing in the underground, the obligation and the public service is to be in tune with the producers and the lyricists and the people making the music that you're playing. So, I mean... Look, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what kind of producer or what kind of DJ you are. You could be the nastiest scratch DJ ever. You could be going behind the back, cutting up, doing some rock radar shit, RIP. You know what I mean? Or you could just be playing, like, the perfect set. Like, every song is like, ooh, no fancy shit. At the end of the day, you're only as good as your library, hands down. You could be the best DJ in the world, technically, but if you only got... Dipset's greatest hits, you know what I mean? What you gonna do? You know what I mean? Like, well, I mean,
you can do something.
You could do something with that. You know what I mean? But, you know what I mean? Like, I think that it's very, like, it only makes you a better DJ to be in tune with that and know who the good people in the city are, because that's what people really feel. Like, people, you go out on the weekends and you see some shit versus going to the club where it's all top 40. It's a different vibe, you know what I mean? But when you see some shit that you know you're the first person hearing, and it's like, oh, I know somebody that knows that person that made it, or whatever it is, that's when you feel like you're part of history being made.
And it's also about those connections, right? Where, like you remember where you first heard, like, Kanye's, like, I don't know if you're a big fan of Kanye, when you first heard Graduation, Flashing Lights, when you first heard the song, you remember, like, where you were, you know, like, you're not going to have a significant memory about, like, the dashes, digits, the schedules, but, you know, like, when you're at the Saint here, and it's nothing, you know, if you can drop some shit and it really fuck with, and, like, somebody really fuck with it, and, like, man, I remember Son spin that shit here, and that's when, ever since then, I fuck with this song and this type of music. It's a personal, like, you know, attachment to that. Yeah.
And then with the club, I was just gonna go back to that really quick. Like, the club is a different obligation, because your obligation at the club is to, like, you shouldn't really have people, like, stopping to look at the DJ at the club. Like, they want to be with their friends doing their thing. You know what I mean? What I like to say, the analogy I like to use is that your job as a DJ at the club is to play the soundtrack for the movie that they think they're in. You know what I mean? Because people go to the club, they're like, oh, tonight's going to be a movie, I'm all on Instagram, this shit. So you want to play the hits. You want to play the shit that's hot right now, the shit that's going to go up on Instagram, whatever. You know what I mean? And, like, obviously, obviously you gotta like find the right time to slip in the underground shit, especially at the club.
Right.
Especially at the club. But on another level, you know what I mean? You gotta maintain the peace. You know what I mean? You can't be playing all underground shit at the club. You really can't do that. You know what I mean?
Right. And I understand why people think play it. Like,
Right.
what's
So
wrong
like,
with y'all?
there's so much weight to those two different sides of the scene. We might turn the music down a little bit.
Yeah,
It's a little loud. But you know what I mean? Like, I feel like the club keeps my technique and my playlists acute and like sharp, because that's an athletic scene. People are more competitive at the club, which I like. You know what I mean? But the underground shit is very important to me, just because you know what I'm talking about. Like,
a lot of the things you mentioned, though, it goes back to just like diversity and like building or maintain community. That's definitely a different perspective than I think a lot of people and even artists take with their work. You just like, where does that come from for you? Where like, is it just natural, or is it something you had to like learn like throughout the process, or?
My biggest, and this is something I said earlier, but my biggest asset is the people I know. So when I grew up I don't know, by chance I grew up around some really, really talented individuals in Baltimore. And like a lot of the people that I grew up with are still people that I work closely with every single day, whether they're in Cali, Atlanta, New York, Baltimore, Philly, you know what I mean? Everybody's spread out now doing their own thing, as they should. But the fact is, I moved to Philly, created a new network, and then I introduced everybody. So all my Baltimore homies know all my New York and all my Philly homies. And the reason, you know, I'll walk into the room and they'll be telling a joke about my Philly homie in Baltimore. I'll be like, oh, yeah, y'all know each other. You know what I mean? Like, and to me, like, that's the key. You know what I mean? That's the key. You know, I look at it as if my homie in Philly hasn't met my homie in Baltimore, they're cousins and they don't know it yet. You know what I mean? And the thing is, like...
That just happened to me recently.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, the thing is, like... the people I rock with, I know not everybody works this way, but the people I rock with, like, I trust. You know what I mean? I don't like to, I thank God, you know, I know a lot of people have issues with, you know, feeling like the people around them aren't contributing to what they're doing. I found out early that, like, through a lot of different things related and unrelated to music, you know what I mean, that you just need good people around you for safety, period. You feel me? So I feel like based off that privilege I have of having a really good family around me, like if I trust somebody in Philly, the homie in Baltimore trusts me that they're dope or that they're cool or that they're reliable and good people. You know what I mean? So I think
like, trust is big, though. You know,
it's everything.
You're mentioning that, and like it definitely is something that's like built. Because as you said earlier, you can do a lot more when you've got 5 people or like a group of people that you trust doing things. Whereas if you can try to do shit on your own. But like at the same time, I think it's important to like also notice that, you know, trust is earned. It's something that's only coming from interactions and so many other experiences that you might have had with him. And I think that like that first point of trust is definitely something that you might have to see all the time when you're working with a lot of people. I'm sorry. That was a roundabout way.
I know what you're saying, though.
Eloquently. But I'm going into the God notes. Gotta go into like back to the earlier like just wait, I promise you. Trust the artist. You know, trust the artist. You know, you mentioned that to me earlier. And you know, you had a point about that, and I want you to kind of like expound on that and like talk. I think there's a lot of things we talked about earlier that I want to bring in. That can like be some nuggets for a lot of people. You know?
So I think that really comes from the event, like the production companies and the people booking in the rooms and stuff. Like, so what I was saying about trust is like, there's different expectations from crowds when you go out to an event, right? And there's certain environments where you're like, I trust that the DJ is going to play top 40. That's why I fucking came to this event. You know what I mean? Because that's all they know. That's all they want to hear. That's fine. It's a shame. Like, that's a whole epidemic that we could talk about, how people don't trust their sensibilities with music and only listen to what other people listen to, which makes it even more important for DJs to, like, playing, like, good shit, not just what's popping. But the trust comes in with, like, I don't know, like, to me, a good DJ is somebody that you trust with your party. Yeah. You trust with the vibes. You trust with, you know, it's so important to like venues know the opening DJ is very important. You know what I mean? That sets the tone.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
it's almost like a bartender, I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like you get this guy, you ask him what's good, you know, he's gonna tell you.
And he's gonna tell you. Yeah.
And it's like if he tells you something and it's just not good, or you don't think he put enough thought into it, then you're not gonna have a great night, or you're not gonna have as best a night you think you could.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like
so with like artists, when it extends beyond DJs, like so a good example for this, shout out The Function. So The Function is an example of a production company. For people that don't know, that's a Philly-based community production company, and they throw their events and they book a lot of really dope local DJs. And that's a situation where like they pack their rooms every time, not because everybody in that room has heard of every DJ they put on, but because they trust The Function to throw a good party. Right. So what I meant by it comes down to the production companies is like, in a local scene where the goal is always to get new people out to these local artists, you know what I mean? So I don't know, like that's a whole thing. Like, yeah, you just gotta be consistent with that shit. But I don't know how to go into it from here. But like, you know,
I feel you. It's like, I know, you're a curator, and
or people that curate. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you throw a couple good parties with a couple people that people kind of know, and then you throw one with people that no one's ever heard of, but you know it's good. Yeah. You know what I mean? So what it really comes down to is the curators, the people booking the events, have to trust their sensibilities. You know, it's not easy to pack a room. You know what I mean? So you kind of got to balance it between people that like, oh, I know that this person's going to play good shit, with somebody who, you know, an artist, or like we were talking, sliding a rapper or a singer in there. You know what I mean?
The gorilla,
the gorilla event. You know what I mean? And that's what it's all about, just getting people in front of things they wouldn't expect to see.
A lot of things
and then they leave and they're like, wow, that was solid.
I remember, no, it's just, I think that's 2019 as fuck. I think it's 2020 as fuck, like the guerrilla style thing where it's like, okay, the spotlight ends on this DJ right here and it just opens up over here, some dude's rapping, like, and then it's just like, yo, what's up? And then like you just got other things going on. I remember we had a couple of events. I thought it was real cool because like the cops were called, so we had to move the show inside. We were like, all right, yo, pick up the speaker, we're going inside. And everyone was just like, oh shit, we gotta like move around with my drink.
Wait, can we talk a bit about why the cops were called? Apparently there was too much cursing in the music, so like the neighbors called the cops.
That's why they called.
It was at my house. I'm like looking at the cop. I'm like, are you serious?
Shout out Vandal, always throwing a lit ass show in Philly.
He was like, yeah, too much profanity. I'm like, is that why they
That's
called you?
That's why they
officer?
called.
They were like,
wow.
It was loud.
He just looked at me, but like he mentioned. No, I wanted the actual.
He should have said it was loud.
Exactly, but
you know what I mean?
Profanity. I'm like,
profanity.
You telling me if I was bumping Luther Vandross, it would have been okay?
Like, called the police still.
Nah, they want some pour some sugar on me. Playing in that neighborhood. It was Northern just, Liberties was bullshit.
It was cool though because we were just like, all right, show's not canceled. We were just about to take it inside. Right. You know what I mean? We took it inside.
Disco warfare.
Yeah, and it was just like that. Now the Orion's son's standing on a couch.
Hell yeah.
He was on my fucking
shout out Tiffany. Yo, she
that
is
shit was
wonderful.
funny. That was really good picture of her standing on my couch.
Right. And it was it was more intimate. It's almost what was appropriate for that.
Hell yeah. And that's the thing. There's a crowd that's down for this.
Yeah.
There's a crowd that wants to go out and hear some shit that they haven't heard, see some art, feel like they're part of progression. You know what I mean? And support their city at the same time.
Right.
I mean, so like that kind of fuck shit. I don't know. Like that. Look. Like I know so many DJs that like, and no disrespect, like I feel you. You know what I mean? I definitely feel you. But some DJs just aren't trying to put up with the fuck shit. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, they don't got speakers at this event.
Right. They probably sit down when they practice.
You know what I mean?
They just want to chill.
But yo, like being a DJ, like
shop, bro.
part of that is just being like, keep the party going at all fucking costs, yo.
No matter what happens.
No matter what happens, yo. Cause
like your speaker went out, have somebody freestyle on the mic real quick.
Until your boy bring the other one around the corner, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, man.
That's interesting. That's definitely dope. But you kind of did that on Tuesday with your homie. You want to talk a little bit about him? His shit was definitely fire.
Apollo and Outlandish.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had the first edition of Good Clean Fun last week, which is a little event series party thing I'm starting fucking around with in Philly, and I had my homie Apollo come through as the special guest. He's from Baltimore, but he lives out in LA now.
Okay.
So I wanted to grab him, get him on this for the first one before he went back, and there's, if you're a rapper and you're trying to get me as a DJ on your set, it might take some talking, you know what I mean? But there's a couple people that I'll drop anything to go DJ for. Cool. And these are people that I've grown up with, people that I've been through all kinds of life shit with. And Outlandish and Apollo are definitely two of those.
Right.
We've performed on different coasts together. And so Apollo has a lot of songs with Outlandish, so he brought him with him for the set too,
cool.
fam shit. And yeah, man. So actually, this is Apollo rapping right now.
Okay.
Funny we're
Shout out.
talking about him.
Yeah.
Shout out to him. He's man, he's been doing this shit forever. Back when we were in Baltimore and all of our friends were on some not the most positive lifestyle shit, and we were getting caught up in that. Like, he was the one person that, like, it was literally, like, I met him at a party where, you know how it be in Philly and Baltimore,
Right.
There's mad product on the table, this, that, everybody's talking business. You're just there like, I don't know what's good,
Until
right?
like 5.
Right. And I saw this kid just standing in the corner listening to something on his headphones, right? And there was mad commotion in the room. So I went over there and I was like, yo, what you listening to? And he took off his headphones. He was like, my shit. And I was like, I bet. And that's how me and Camille met. Like, we were in that room together. So obviously, like, we knew a lot of people before that. We just started talking, and years and years went by, and we still doing shit together. And he's a fucking, you gotta keep your eye on him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, his shit was definitely like fire. It was the first time I stopped in the club to record something. I'm going on stage.
And then Outlandish, shout out to him. He's newer into this music shit, and he's like Apollo.
Is he in Philly or Baltimore?
He's in Baltimore.
Okay.
So Outlandish, he grew up around me and Apollo, and at a certain point, he was like, yo, I'm trying to get on some more positive shit. I really fuck with the music that y'all are making. And he's like, we fuck around and call him our Easy E, because he really just be talking about what he did that day, and it's hard as a bitch. You feel me? Like he's the fucking homie, and he brings a obvious energy to the room. You know what I mean? So it's always good to have him. And he's come up for I spun for I did Meek Mill's album release show and like a couple other high-profile events at Noto this summer and this winter that he's come and supported me for. You know what I mean? Those are good friends. Yeah.
So let's just talk about the Good Clean Fun before we get going.
Yeah.
That shit was a dope-ass event. You kind of brushed upon it. It's something that you're starting up in Philly. Just talk about the project. What's the vision? And
yeah. So if you can't, I think it's for point blank. I think it's important for DJs to get involved in a lot of different shit. I think that DJs are the cornerstone of this industry in a lot of ways and have the potential to help everybody's process out. Whether that's recommending a good producer, recommending a good venue that somebody might be able to do their release party at, coming through to play the fucking in-between sets just to make the transition smoother.
Right.
All that shit is important, and there's no levels to this shit. You could be at the #1 club in Philly, or you could be at underground shit watching history get made, and it's like you're doing a job at the end of the day. So at this point, I feel like I've been blessed with a lot of opportunities. Since I turned 21, I've been able to really, perform with some people I really look up to and get in some rooms that I've really imagined playing at. You know what I mean? So at this point, I just got so many dope fucking artists around me that I really want to just turn around and start to curate shit and start to book shit. And also, I'm really inspired by this Philly scene. I be telling these Astro 8000, Silo, T-Banga, all these people that have these weekly parties casually in Philly, that shit would go crazy in Baltimore. And I don't mean it would go crazy. It's just people, if you went to Philly and said, I have a party, or Baltimore and said I have a party every week and I'm a DJ, they'd be like, all right. You know what I mean? And I just feel like in Philly, that's they set the bar of hey, we're having fun every week. We're doing shit every week.
Time.
We're, and they support each other. If they got a show on the same day as somebody else, they share both flyers. You feel me?
Exactly.
And the DJ scene in Philly is really on some shit. So part of it is I just wanted to get involved with that and put some of the DJ homies on that I have and kind of mix and match some of the DJs I really like with some of the DJs I haven't met before and use it as a way to like meet people. But also I just got this network of lyricists and producers that I really just want to give a space to be creative in. And you know, the name Good Clean Fun is something me and my roommate who goes by Good Boy have kind of been. You know, we're goofy motherfuckers for real. So like, Good Clean Fun is we did a back-to-back set at Rumor a year ago when that was a club, and we called ourselves Good Clean Fun just because we were playing anything. Yeah. Like I think the name is like you can look into it as deeply or as not deeply as you want, but like it's literally just like a good time at all costs. And you know, a lot of people hit me up when I dropped the flyer and were like, "Yo, you might consider like posting some genres that are gonna be played just to let people know." And I was like, low key, I feel you, but I don't want them to know. You know what I mean? I want the DJs to feel like they can do anything. I want the artists to feel like they don't have to do an all lit set. They can do some of their more intimate songs or whatever. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I've seen rooms. You know, when you get a room right, when you get the room right with you know, however you got to do it, whether you got a band there or a DJ that's playing just the right music, you can do anything in that bitch. You know what I mean? So when you get the room just right off the strength of some DJs playing hits, and then you stop the music and you say, "Hey, we have a very special guest here tonight. They're about to come and do some songs for you. A couple are unreleased. Whoever is in the room is going to be like, oh. You know what I mean? Let me get my Instagram out and start taking pictures. Because then, you know, they thought this was any other night. And then some real art goes down. And then they're like, you know what I mean? That's something to, you know, diversify the event, but also to make it stand out a little bit. You know what I mean? I hope that other DJs in this scene start to bring their rapper homies out a little more and just, like, give them a song on the mic. Like, you got a night at the Dolphin or wherever it is, just have your homie come up. You know what I mean? That's a small booth, but like you were talking about, make it work. You know what I mean? Like,
stand on that bitch.
Yeah. So yeah, we got the Good Clean Fun #2 in the works. So stay tuned for that. And there's also I'm starting this thing at the Cherry Street Pier through Truewave. So this will be a Truewave Good Clean Fun event, and that's gonna be local art on the walls. It's going to be invite only, most likely, with a loose +1. And it's all acoustic. Okay. So Brandon Woody's Upendo Quartet is going to be on there, and Jelani Say, who's a really dope band.
For you if you want a rapper who uses a guitar.
Let's talk.
Yeah, Prince Diego. This is part of this FraudTax thing, because I feel like people, we ask you a bunch of questions and stuff like that, but I want you to give you a chance to flex. I know you've done some crazy stuff. I know you've done some sets with some crazy people. I want you to, this is your couple minutes where you can flex, talk about what was your craziest event? Like, what was your craziest shit? Like, who was the most famous person you've met? Only I know.
The craziest shit I ever did where I was just like, how the fuck am I in this room right now? Like, I'm not supposed to be here. Like, oh man, you can hear my voice. But yo, so through the course, you can check out my Instagram and like do the research to figure it out. But somehow over the summer, I got in with the HBO event coordinators.
Okay.
And they hit me up to do. They were doing this little event. They had like, it was one in Houston, one in Philly, one in Atlanta, and one in New York. And it was, there were 4 DJs on each event, and it was like at a roller skating rink. So roller skating, it was to promote Insecure, I believe. And The Deuce and a couple other HBO shows.
That's cool, yeah.
So they hit me up to do that, and they wanted me to do the Philly one, which would have been lit. The Unique did the Philly one. Shout out to Unique, Jersey Club Music, worldwide. She's killing it. And I was hyped for that, and then I looked at the date, and I was like, damn, I can't do it. So I hit them up, and I was like, listen, I can't do it, da-da-da-da-da. And they were like, oh, it's cool. Would you be down to do the Houston one? So I was like, yeah. So what had happened was, so I'm emailing with them. Like, I don't really know who the other DJs are. I don't know shit, right? Talking to them, trying to like, this is when I really realized I needed a manager, because like I was negotiating my own deal with HBO, like you know what I mean? I didn't know what to ask for. I didn't know if I was coming off right, all that. And I went down, locked it in, did the paperwork, and then they sent me the flyer. They had my name next to DJ Camilo, who is the Hot 97 DJ of New York.
That's dope.
Just Blaze.
Oh, shit.
That's where my jaw dropped. And then Jasmine Salona, who's a really, really dope DJ. She's just she's a huge inspiration. She's involved in all kinds of other than music, artistic stuff. But basically, they flew me down to Houston, gave me a hotel room, cars to and from, and I was just like, I was like, what am I doing here? And literally, like, the way, man, that shit was crazy. So that was an experience that, like, I learned a whole lot from and just, like, got a taste of, hopefully what's to come and just, like, shook hands with somebody I've been listening to my whole life.
Like, in that room. 'Cause I remember, like, one time I went to,
Right.
what is it, Made in America, and like I got into like the Rock Nation VIP.
Right.
It was like Beyonce and fucking
Everybody in there, yeah.
like,
You're
everybody
like,
like, what the fuck? I don't know what the fuck to do.
Honestly, I have a weird relationship with that kind of clout. A lot of my family is involved in the film business, so I kind of grew up around that shit and just like learned that early on that these people are people. I have an inch, personally, I think that often your friends are doper than the people you think are the dopest. You know what I mean? So to me, like, all these people are people. They got problems and issues that's between them and their issues. You know what I mean? We all got shit going on. We all got, you know what I mean? And like, I think it's important, especially, with the people like Just Blaze, who's like somebody who obviously I had to say hello to, and just like, I think with those people, you just say thank you. You just say, thank you for what you've done for us. I respect the shit out of you. You know what I mean? Like, you don't gotta, I feel so weird about like getting pictures taken with these people and all that shit. And a lot of my people around me are like, yo, you gotta work on that. You gotta network better. And like, the thing is, like, at the club, for example, so I did a lot of nights with some high-profile people, and the question I got most often was like, yo, you meet the Migos, you meet Travis, you meet this, that, the third. The thing is, like, for so many reasons, I'm not trying to go out of my way to talk to these people at the club. And, like, if that's your thing, going to get this, if you don't feel like it's a good night unless you got a picture taken with that person you opened for, so-and-so, or DJ'd for, that's fine. That's you. Me personally, like, I'm not trying to go and name drop and yell over the music at the club. And, like, chances, like, I don't know, like, if you are in the right place, if you're in that room, chances are you probably are 2 degrees away from that person anyway. If you,
it's
you know what I mean?
It's probably an accolade for you to even be put on the same bill. Like, you must be doing something musically that's good. Like you're obviously.
I would like to think that. I think that's not always the case, but
you opened up for who? Migos. You opened up for you DJ for them.
Travis.
Travis.
The Ski Mask tour.
The Ski Mask tour, and you on the bill with Just Blaze and shit. Like, obviously you're good enough. You know what I mean? Like, that's what like.
I appreciate that. It's weird to gloat.
I mean, no, I'm just saying, like, I'm like, yo, who are you interviewing, Dom? What? Like, what? Like, how do you know this dude? Like, so I feel it, like, and it's just cool, man. Like, it's probably hella validation, right? Just like, man, I really am dope as fuck at this DJ shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's good, and I mean, it's interesting because, like, I know it comes back to this, but like I love that shit for my own checklist. You know what I mean? Like, externally, people love that shit. When I post a flyer that has Meek's name on it, the city goes crazy. When I post a flyer that's on some underground release party shit, nobody gives a shit. But to me, that event is way cooler.
That's where
you know what I mean? I go to the Meek show, and that's dope, but it takes so much out of you being at the club. Like, club is cool, but everybody just trying to flex on each other. You know what I mean? Where you go to that other event, and you leave being like, damn, I just met 10 people that, like, on the same page. You know what I mean?
Hungry.
Yeah. So I think we could leave on this, but, like, the real validation came in, like, the biggest validation I've seen so far is realizing that, and I talked about this earlier, but, like, a good example, there's a band called Black Magic in Philly. You might have heard of her. Shout out Emily.
They actually were at the party last week.
Right, so, and she's from Boston, and it's the band is stacked, right? And they've been killing the scene, da-da-da-da-da. They played a couple shows I was at. And then I was on the phone with my homie Bobby Woody, who's from Baltimore and lives in New York. And I told him about this show. He was like, I recorded that album. I was like, what? So just like, and then I found out that he recorded half the Philly band scene, you know what I mean? So, like, just finding out that, like, the homies I grew up with and the homies I consider my, like, team.
Right. Yeah.
And, like, all the other people I'm meeting are all, like, involved with each other. Yeah, like, it's an East Coast thing going on. Yeah. And knowing that people are, like, I don't know, you know what I mean?
Black Magic is actually performing at the 3 shows that we're putting together. Didn't know if you knew that, but yeah, it's
That's
funny.
dope. I mean, like, even this. Shout out fucking BJ, you know what I mean? Because I knew about y'all, and then he introduced me to y'all, and I didn't even realize that y'all were y'all when I met y'all. And then he hit me up and was like, no, and then you hit me up and you were like, you trying to do this FraudTax shit. And I was like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
because I met you first at that Airbnb after the internet concert, and like you were spending right before Meek came on, and I almost fucked the vibe by turning the Meek album off, but they're like, no.
That was the day it released, yo. That was such a funny night, yo. Yeah.
But yo, what's your Instagram? How can people link up with you? Like, tell us about that.
Yeah, so Spun by Sun on everything. My DJ name is Sun, DJ Sun. The joke there is that my name is Jason, so it's like the D is silent, Jason. Some people never get that. I got homies that knew me before I was DJing, hit me up at 3 a.m, 2 years later being like, I get it, that's fine. Like, they were smoking, they were like, I get it. No, but so on Spun by Sun on all platforms, Facebook and Instagram are my biggest hubs. Yeah, hit me up. Let's work. I know a lot of people in 2019, and every year it seems like are like, I'm only working with real ones. I'm gonna charge you if you hit me up. But like, obviously, like, we gotta be on some mutual shit. But like, I'm always down to meet new people and work. So if you see some shit that you want to get involved with, or have something that you want me involved with, like, let's get it. Hit me up.
Let's
Good
go.
luck so much for coming. We do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
FraudTax.
For real.